Hi, and welcome to this month's show and tell for MakerLab Monthly Make live on our Facebook page. So my name is Brianna Sadler. I am the former MakerLab coordinator at Two Rivers Gallery, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lheidli-T'enneh. And this month we are talking about the prompt Analogue. So I am joined by Margaret Tatey, as well as Belinda Larish. So I'm going to stop my screen. So hi, how's everyone doing today?
Hi, Brianna. Very well.
Awesome. How are you, Margaret?
Pretty good.
Good.
Of course, they catch me on the moment that they're actually vacuuming my hallway. Sorry about that.
It's all good. So as I said, we are talking about the prompt Analogue, and we are going with MakerLab Monthly Make, which is a monthly program where we give prompts out to create and make whatever you want. So this month it was Analogue. And so why don't we start with Margaret, and then we'll go around in our circle and share what we've made.
Well, as someone pointed out to me, almost every creative thing I do is in fact analog. I don't do a lot of creation. I don't do a lot of new media stuff. In fact, right now I'm making yarn on a hand spindle. I've also been working on several weaving projects this month, including one where I'm doing test weaving for an upcoming publication because it will save a couple of years for the person writing the book. But because those aren't my intellectual property, I'm not going to be showing them on screen, unfortunately. But it's kept me pretty busy.
Those look awesome. We actually have a last minute guest who's coming to join us, which is Ken. So I'm going to admit him into the Zoom meeting. Hi, Ken. We're live on Facebook. Don't know if you can hear me yet.
I can hear you.
Hi, Ken. We're live on Facebook, so welcome.
Well, I'm on Zoom, so whatever.
It's all good. Margaret just was sharing her Analogue for the month and what she created based on that prompt.
Okay.
Yes. So sorry, Margaret, you were saying?
Just that there's a lot that I can't really show because it's not my own intellectual property. But to give an idea of what tablet weaving is like, I do have a project that's out of a publication that has been published that I can show. And so this is just an easy loom that I have lying around because I've got a couple of these with a very simple tablet weaving project on it. And these cards were actually printed at the MakerLab.
Mm-hmm. So like tablet weaving, that would be very similar to like coding, because what you're doing is you're kind of putting in the dots to create a certain pattern.
A little bit, yeah. Although it's Iron Age coding.
Very cool. Ken or Belinda, do you have any questions for Margaret?
Well, I'm very well acquainted with everything Margaret's doing, so it's hard to come up with a question.
I am curious as to how long ago it was used and maybe basically when it was abandoned as technology, producing little belts, because I don't think it's
still
currently the thing Amazon is selling.
Yeah, but it still hasn't been abandoned. It's currently being used in desert countries to make camel harness. It's currently being used to make all sorts of things. It's just not mainstream first world.
Okay.
I guess I would add that some of the issues, Ken, would be the, you know, the wage that someone is able to earn by making one of these things is nothing compared to the cost of making these equivalent types of, like if you're looking for something on Amazon, you're not going to find something handmade.
No.
There is no way to properly remunerate someone for their handwork through the Amazon model.
No, or through the mass production model at all.
Yes.
And there are certain techniques within tablet weaving that can end up taking more than an hour per inch of progress. Because some of the more complex techniques like brocading, where you don't just have a structural cross thread or weft, you also have a pattern cross thread or weft that's often gold wire, that takes extra time and a second shuttle and different types of manipulation. And with expensive materials, you are going to take your time.
I guess if you can afford to have camel races, you can afford to pay somebody to make the bridles for them.
Well, I'm actually
Well, and there's
clear to be camel harness in indigenous populations and not necessarily for the more affluent.
More
yeah, I guess any spot where the traditions are still alive, which I mean, it might not be the majority of people. In fact, it is definitely not the majority of people partaking of traditional anything. But with 8 billion people on the planet, there are still a significant number of people who are keeping traditions alive, and they do stuff, and so therefore their stuff needs to be used. So it does get used, but to a limited extent compared to what's commercially available.
Yeah. Just kind of reiterating back to the topic, like, so we have the monthly prompt, which was Analogue. How do you view this into that prompt, Margaret? Maybe give your definition of what Analogue is to you and how it relates to what you've created.
Well, I always see analog as meaning something that's done hands-on and off screen.
Mm-hmm.
Something that you've got a direct connection with rather than the indirect connection of, you know, a stylus to the electronic stuff, to the internet, to the population at large. Because analog is technically pre-digital.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And in terms of everything that I do, sometimes I will choose to make the yarn before I weave it. Not because it's a savings of time or money necessarily, because buying silk fiber is not that much less expensive than buying commercial silk yarn, but because I want something very specific. And the easiest way to get that is sometimes to make it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of industrial processes have made really nice generic items, but they don't necessarily produce, say, a yarn that is high enough twist that when you're weaving narrow goods, which is something I do a lot, they don't hold up the same. Because machines tuned for speed will not twist something a lot when they can get away with twisting it half as much because it's being thrown through further commercial processes.
I guess that's what's interesting, because I see analog a very similar way, and there's so many ways now that textiles and weaving and everything like that is being mass produced and often like created patterns on a digital computer and then being put through the system and then just made, and we've lost like this tactile component of it. I chose the word analog as a prompt this month simply because there was actually National Computer Day this month. So I thought it was a really kind of good juxtaposition for what we do and what MakerLab often does. And also with the fact that it's like National Computer Day. Well,
It's an every day now.
I know, right?
Like Oxygen Day or something.
Walking upright day.
Yeah.
Although, you know, maybe an argument could be made, but not so often. COVID times, everyone just you know,
Just sits there.
we're not as active as we were.
No, that is very true. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And if anybody does anybody have any other questions? Or if not, I'll move on to
A
Belinda.
related question that's just because it's to do with ancient methods of making cloth. And Margaret, have you heard of, I think it's a Muslim from what's currently Bangladesh. And it's a fabric that is no longer produced.
The really thin one?
Yeah, the one that's so gossamer thin.
The Dhaka muslins. I've heard of them. Yeah.
Any acquaintance with it? Have you ever seen a sample?
I have not seen a sample in person. The best that I've heard described is that they were likely splicing single ends of linen onto each other.
No, it's a cotton.
Okay, that's all right. Those are the
But
cotton.
it's a cotton fiber that's only grown along one specific river. And I think I read an article on obviously the BBC.
I know
But
some
it's
of
like
the
a 19-step process. And
I know some of the superfine linens. That's how they posited they got some of the insanely gossamer linen cloths from like 1,000 years ago. Was
Yeah.
splicing single ends almost.
yeah, but it's it's a short
cultivars of
fiber
would
cotton.
be specific
And-
cultivars of cotton would be just as interesting for that.
Yeah, it's like a 19-step process, and different families had the knowledge of different steps. And the good old
Then
Brit-
along came colonialism, and these people were essentially paid to forget what they knew, and it has been lost. The knowledge is lost. They're trying to recover it. We probably read the same article.
I'm sure we did, because I can't imagine there'd be two. But it's that was just one fascinating kind of thing that in the whole cheap production, and it goes back into the whole takeover of India and selling India cloth from Britain to keep the British mills going. Good old colonialism.
Well, I think we could have like a whole entire 7 hours, probably more, on just that kind of concept of the colonial of Britain coming over to India and just
We
And
could also
Canada.
do it on, the
gouging and mass producing. I wrote a 20-page paper on just one small part of it, Ken.
Yeah,
you could spend days just on the politics of
Kirk.
textiles.
Yeah.
So because anyone who says that textiles are not political hasn't
Oh my
really-
goodness, they're so political.
yeah. Yeah, how is it you can have a $4 shirt? Like,
Yeah. That actually technically costs less to produce. So you're buying it for $4, but it doesn't actually cost $4.
no, somebody's making profits several steps down the line.
Yeah.
Every time that shirt changed hands all the way from Bangladesh to Walmart,
Mhm.
and still for $4, somebody at the bottom is not getting anything.
Well, I think
That's what
definitely
it boils
a
down
topic.
to.
I think that's definitely a topic for another conversation. I don't think any of us want to be here for another 7 hours or
No.
more.
Shall I talk about my tensegrity?
So Belinda, you made something as well?
I did. I think it qualifies as analog. It leapt to my mind when I saw the word analog, just in contrast to anything else that I'm likely to be doing, which is all pretty well going to be involving. Basically, I guess I think that if it involves electricity, it's probably not analog, or if it needs electricity, I guess. So what I chose to illustrate is this is just one form that a tensegrity can take. So this is a tensegrity. It's a structural element that if you look closely, you can see that the solid beams do not connect to each other at all. So it's unlike your typical structure. So the compression is isolated in the solid parts, and the string components, which could be wire, it could be anything, but the connecting pieces are holding all of the tension. So if you arrange your individual parts properly, then this type of structure is extremely strong. So this happens to be the one that I was fooling around with. So Icosahedron, I believe, is what it is. It has 6 solid beams. But since they're really hard to make and fiddly, and usually you make them with elastics, and you're partway through making it, and then parts zing off in one direction and the other. So so on my computer screen here, running off my Raspberry Pi, I have some samples to show. So this is a more complex structure, has more elements in it. And there's one that is identical to mine. So the 6th element. There's an instruction video on how to make them. They can and have been used in actual structural whatever creations, bridges and towers and whatever that you can find them around the planet. Various people have sort of taken a step sideways from the traditional civil engineering. Oh, we need a bridge, let's just put up one of these. They've decided to put up something that is in fact like a 10-second grid. So there's a walkway that is designed for, I'm not sure where in Europe, and this is actually not an actual picture. It's clearly a rendering model of it. And I think, I don't know what I have here, but there are a bunch around the world. So here's a tower. I don't know, you can't see that. Anyways,
Yeah.
there is a tower, and it is in Washington, D.C. There it is from the bottom. Oh, that was cool. So when if you look at them from the right angle, you can always sort of see the geometry of it, but you can't always. So sometimes it shows up like this tower from the bottom. And sometimes it doesn't, depending on which way you're looking at it. But the thing that's cool about them is, number one, they're very strong for their weight. So they're extremely light because they don't need all the additional quote unquote supporting members that would connect, normally your beams or your trusses together, because all of the tension is held in these relatively thin elements that don't weigh a lot because they're so thin. There's less material there. This one, just to, I guess, merge a little bit with some of Margaret's version of Analogue, I put this one together instead of with elastics, with my own hand spun yarn. One of the very first attempts I made at spinning and plying my own yarn. So that's it's actually technically pretty bad yarn, but it worked for this purpose. So that was Analogue as well. I cannot claim that the origin of the beams is Analogue because they were made on my 3D printer, but they're just sticks. So they could be sticks. I suppose I should have whittled some sticks. So that's a tensegrity.
That's really cool. It boggles my mind. It was the same with the Frabjus. I have no visual context when it comes to those things. There's a lot of visual context that I can get and I can understand and I can totally relate to, but for some reason my mind cannot wrap around the complexities that those kind of shapes produce.
Well, it helps to build it yourself, like it helps to make it, and then you tend to understand through repetition, and you understand, if you can understand it with your fingers, your brain gets it. But yeah, I mean, mathematically, there's a lot of math that is obviously used when designing a bridge or a tower or something like that, because you do have to, in fact, know the load bearing capability of your design. You can't just build it and see what it holds. Let's see, let's put a group of kids up there. Let's see what happens now.
Don't they do that with the egg drop though? They go, oh, try to build something. Here you go. Have fun.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about an actual bridge.
Yeah, there's that.
The bridge you showed, I'm not sure if that's in London.
It looks like the one in London. I was gonna say, it looks very similar to the one in London.
And that one, when they opened it, had a rather exciting day because the bridge started to sway left and right. And once they got the crowd off of it, they shut it down to try and figure out why. And it's basic harmonics. The bridge is supported on, it's essentially a horizontal suspension bridge, rather than strings coming down, strings coming in. And, you know, I mean, we've known about harmonics in horizontal bridge or in suspension bridges for a long time. They tend to blow apart. Yeah, so it's interesting how those things can pile up. Have you seen the tables that are made with chain?
Yeah.
That use the same?
Yes. Yeah, I saw a few of those examples as well. Yeah, so there, yes, it can be used in furniture structures as well.
Yeah, it's kind of freaky to see.
Yeah, they
It is freaky to see because it looks like it's, you know, is this defying gravity? What's going on here?
Yeah, sit on this, you know. I'm like, no.
But well, and they're also one of the designs for that NASA has for something that could land on, like, without a parachute or without a significant parachute. I remember how one, was it the Pathfinder that dropped down in the bubble and bounced along the surface of Mars? So anyways, you could also use a tensegrity sort of superstructure, exoskeleton almost, around whatever your package is, and let that drop and bounce and roll, because it if it's properly designed, it will be, you know, it will have a little bit of an ability to absorb, or a large ability to absorb forces, and it won't blow apart. And it's very light, so the force, when you have something that's that much lighter, the force is that much less. So anyway, so for landing things on other off of the Earth, this is sort of one of the trials that they've been looking at. I don't know where they are with that, but that's another use for them potentially.
Well, all that can be
That's what
done.
I've got.
Yeah.
Very cool. Does anybody have any questions for Belinda?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I first saw the tensegrity when she was making it for display somewhere. So
Yeah. It's really cool.
I have a question for you, Brianna.
Okay.
We're on Facebook Live. Are you
Yeah,
able to see if there's any people watching us?
There have been a few people watching us, yes.
Okay, I was just
There haven't
curious.
been any questions, so if there are any questions, I will definitely let you guys know. But yeah, there are some people watching us. Yeah.
Cool. Hello, everybody.
We're out in Facebook land.
Wow.
Yeah. So if there's no questions for Belinda, then I'm going to move on to Ken.
Analog. I realize I should be able to flip my camera around and use the camera on the other side of
Yes.
my iPhone, but
Oh,
but I'm incompetent. Okay, so as you're all aware, I've got a granddaughter. Maybe it's easier just to do that this way. And she's just passed to So she's starting to get to Play-Doh stage. And I thought I would make her some rollers. So all of this is I do use electricity because I refuse to have a bicycle driven lathe. I've made
Or a
one yet.
pole lathe. Pole lathes are a little
Pole
fun.
lathe. But it's all different little rollers, different little textures. Trying to figure out how a texturing tool I bought years ago actually works. Because it produces stuff like this, which rapidly starts to look like a one-trick pony if you use it in very much. Like, what are you going to do with that? You can make little columns in some kind of fake building structure, but it very quickly becomes kind of passe. I might try and make it honey dippers that way. But anyway, that's what I've been up to for the last while. So I just have to make some.
Can you make something like that's deep, has deeper grooves and would be like an Archimedes screw?
I think
Raising water.
this is the deepest screw I can make, or deepest, and I think this is 4mm spacing. But yeah, if you made another tube over this and drove it, it would work as an Archimedes screw. And very inefficiently raise water. Or you could probably go the other way. You could put it into your downspout, direct the water from the roof, and have another set of gears and generate electricity from it. Probably enough to charge your phone over the whole summer.
It's really cool. Every time you bring out all your wood projects, it amazes me. It's really interesting because right now we're working on at the Burnaby Art Gallery. We're actually working on an exhibition that's been created by kids over the last year called Arts Alive. And the whole theme is connection and looking at how it is to be together apart. And so when you were bringing that up, it was just like, in my mind, it's such a tactile way to connect with your granddaughter. This beautiful, like, togetherness of holding something her grandpa made, you know?
Yeah, but it sucks that I can't go play with her.
Yeah, it does.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that would be so much more fun, because part of the question I have for these things is I haven't had a 2-year-old around me for a long time. I mean, anything interesting to a 2-year-old?
Yes.
I don't know. It's for most part.
One of the other ways they might be interesting to make noise against each other, or just again like with a pencil on it or something.
I can also see it being popular to just for texture, so like feel like against your mouth or against your hand.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It'll be important to her if it's important to the person that introduces it to her.
Yeah.
That's how 2-year-olds work. But that's a very tactile, experiential kind of part of life. And it's pretty wonderful to watch.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit that I get to see of it, because
now there's always an upcoming cookie baking holiday. I'm sure that they can put this into service for that.
Well, yeah, they might be usable for that. I don't know. I mean, I made 2 sets so I could send them. My younger daughter is down in Victoria now, and she gets Lulu on Saturdays. So there's 2 sets, so they can be one in both households. Hopefully
Very
it'll be
good thinking.
Yes. Yes, because if you lose one of a favorite toy, the kid, is very upset.
Yeah, and also it saves packing them back and forth.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah. Anyway,
Awesome.
life is fun.
Well, I hope those go over well, Kim.
Oh, yeah, I will be told that they did.
No, but I think they will, like,
I think they will.
Yeah.
I think they will.
Yeah, I think most kids are eager to play with stuff, and if they stick around, they can get used for cookies. If they stick around, they can get used much later in life for clay, or they can go up the chimney, whatever.
I just love it. I love that thing. I love that they have a grandpa that is thinking about those things for them.
Well, it's tough to figure out what toys you can make for kids
Mhm.
to play with that they're going to be capable of. I'm a little worried about the size of them. You know, can she get it in her mouth and swallow it if she's running?
No.
Like the size for a baby rattle is 35 millimeters. It's huge, and it's that size so kids don't have a choking hazard. A baby rattle, this is like 1.5 inches. I don't know how they could get it down their throat, but apparently some have. Good old US regulation.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing. It was beautiful, beautiful work as always. So I guess it's me. I really couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I looked it up. I went through all, and I was the one who chose the prompt, which I think is hilarious. But I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do for it. And I kept researching. I would Googled Analogue. I went back and forth. I'm like, what's the definition? Can I knit? Do I do this? And so what I ended up doing, there's something out there called Analogue Collage. So I don't know if you guys can see it.
Mhm.
So it starts there. It goes all the way up here. It's quite a large piece.
Is the material paper?
It's all paper. So
Okay.
I have like magazine. I have bits of like handmade paper. Up here is pieces of watercolor paper that I cut out. I drew on it a bit too, so some of it's drawing. I was having fun with it. It was just more, I don't know if it means anything. It was more of a way for me to kind of relax after crazy days that I've been having. So as most of you know, I have taken a new job and I've moved to Burnaby. And so I've had really crazy days. And so this was a way for me to kind of sit and be kind of methodical and put things down and glue things and not have to be present and not have to think.
Present in a different way.
Present in a very different way. So it helped me out to my first 2 weeks to kind of just sit there and make this. There's like some dancers on here. There's a dancer here. There's a dancer here. There's the words just and perfect past. These guys kind of look like weird coronaviruses. They're not, but they kind of look like it. You can see them right here. There's one of the dancers. And if you can see the other dancers up here. And then this one is like a Scottish lady in the kilt with a cat head. I know. That's kind of what I was doing. I was having fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when I was looking it up and like trying to figure out what I wanted to do, there's a whole community that they call themselves analog collagers. And there's like a whole thing of just being collage as analog, because right now in the digital age, a lot of collage is going on the digital with computers and kind of putting it on that way. So there's this whole community that just is like, no, we want to go back to taking the paper, ripping it up, collaging and putting things on top of each other. So it's actually called analog collage, which I thought was quite interesting.
Well, yeah, my question was going to be, how can a collage not be analog? But I guess, yeah, you could do it on a computer or a tablet or anything. You can, cut by circling something and then move it over somewhere else. That would be
classic collage has sort of been supplanted by some of the digital paint by number apps
Yeah. Yeah.
that half the world is on their phone right now,
Yeah.
where you literally just tap out the colors and it just, I
Which
don't
to
want
me,
to have, a pencil or a pen or a paintbrush in my hand if
Yeah.
I'm going to do something like that. I don't want to be just tapping on squares.
I would agree. Like there's so much, I mean, they're doing it because it's a way for you to de-stress and calm down, which this is also a way to do that. But I find that there's just so much more creativity and movement and ability to express oneself when you're doing it more with the physical things.
But you also get the entire tactile experience.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's glue all over my hands.
I know.
It's
There's
now
a lot of
my-
like,
But Linda, you said it best earlier. You said you'll learn through your fingers,
yeah,
and that's what collage is to me. It's that
yeah,
tactile kind of stick it down here, move it a half an inch, turn it a quarter turn,
yeah,
give up on it, put another piece over top of it. And that's all. I mean, it's so much deeper than pushing things around with a mouse.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of like feeling behind it, right? Like you can see the person in it, because it is a tactile thing.
mhm.
But that's how I feel. Like you see that, because you have to take time. You have to go through magazines. You have to figure out what do you want to like take out, what do you want to use, what do you want to put there, and there's like so much more process because you can't just Google, oh, Scottish lady with a cat head, find an image and put it in. Like I had to have a book that had a cat head in it, and I had to have a book that had a Scottish lady in it to combine them.
And you only had one of each.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you screw it up, you now have to have an Irish guy,
Yeah, yeah.
as you already cut out the Scottish with the cat head. And it's a weird thing of the digital world where everything, you can reproduce it infinitely.
Yeah.
And it has a different resource sense to it.
Yeah. I have to say, like, I have not done collage since I was I'd probably say like 15, 16.
Mhm.
So it was definitely really fun and interesting to go back to this kind of style and this medium and explore it a bit more because, yeah, it's been a really, really long time.
Yeah. It's interesting in the art production kind of sense of, right now in music, we have a whole lot of sampling,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the whole who owns what. And if I remember my art history right, there was a whole
Mm-hmm.
blow up when collage started
Yeah.
as to who owned the original image. When you started stacking up, was collage valid art? Was it,
Mm-hmm.
where did it fit in the whole canon of art? Because you're borrowing somebody else's image in
Yeah,
order to build up your own.
absolutely. Ken, you like to bring up those topics that can go on for hours, don't you?
Yeah, and he does this as I'm trying to figure out that
I know.
I have to go.
I know. That's why I was saying that because we definitely have to cut things short now and say goodbye. And I want to thank every single one of you for joining us today. And I really appreciate your commitment in making things and sharing them and all of that stuff. And so I want to thank you, and hopefully we can see each other again soon.
Okay.
Well, and I will add, while we're still live on Facebook, thank you very much, Brianna, for doing all the, you kept a whole bunch of things alive for a very long time, and it's been good. Thank you.
I really miss in-person Thursdays, and yeah, thanks to
Yes.
everybody who's been part
Yes.
of the Maker.
People are getting a little bit of a taste of in-person Thursdays right now. Awesome. Okay, well, guys, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you guys so much. And we'll all see each other soon.